Resistance to change, you shouldn't be surprised when it happens. In fact, reactions to change are very predictable. No matter what the change is, some staff will resist it. So how do you minimise defensive reactions to a change message? Let's find out from Eleanor Shakiba. So Eleanor, let's start off with a practical example, I guess, of defensive reactions to change, which is our topic for today.
So they can come out of the blue in many ways. And so an example that has always stuck in my memory was a colleague of mine who was running a pilot program on mentoring. And so she was imagining that everyone in her group would be really enthusiastic because they'd been chosen to have a mentor. And so she was there giving a positive message, and she was astonished when 10 minutes into her presentation, one of the participants said, "Oh, it's just a management plot. I don't want to be here. I've been forced to be here." And she wasn't prepared for that because she really had been thinking everyone would be supporting this major organisational change initiative. So she didn't know what to do next.
So if we think about resistance to change, what are some of the underlying reasons for resistance, and how often can we expect it?
Well, around about 20% of any group are likely to actively resist change. Around about 20%, luckily, are likely to be supporting it, and 60% are just waiting to see what pans out. Now, if we look at the 20% that resist, there will tend to be some key features of why people would resist. So the first one might be that, in fact, they've got a really good argument for why the change might cause difficulties. The second one that people often overlook is that people can be nervous. If this change happens and I have to learn how to use a new computer system, I'm going to look like an idiot because it took me so long to learn the first one. So you have a sense of shame and you're worried about what might happen next. And in some cases, it could simply be that the person is committed to the old way of doing things because they designed the old way of doing things, or they were there when the old way got set up. So you need to recognise that people will have investments in how things are happening now.
So if someone has in fact designed a system, and it was their system, their creative project, and you're now changing it, what can you do to help bring them on board, to get them engaged in what's going to be something new?
Yeah, that's something a lot of managers forget to do. Firstly, acknowledge that the system so far has brought us this far. It's been a fantastic system, and acknowledge that people had input into it and thank them. And then say, and I'm really hoping that you can help us to develop the next generation of success. And so I'm wanting everyone to participate in helping us to bring in this new system or this new process. What are your ideas about what we need to do, given what our business objectives are and how they've changed over time?
So if we're thinking about especially a manager presenting a change opportunity or a change situation, how do they best frame their message to win acceptance?
I like the formula because we're going to. Because of our success, we're going to move. So you're giving people context, you're giving them the why, you're giving them the reason right up front, and then you're linking into what the change is. And secondly, you need to be aware some people are going to be motivated towards the vision of the future. And we hear people talking about vision. Fabulous. If someone is a towards orientation, they'll go for that vision. But someone who is an away from orientation will be going, can't see what the difference is going to be. The only way someone who runs away from pain is going to be motivated is because our building has got too cramped, we have to move. So you're moving away from a pain factor rather than moving towards the vision of some wonderful new premises, for example.
So I think you talk in your book about taglines. So tell us a bit more about how they can be used.
So taglines are about making your intention up front so that people don't go around and have some sense of there is something going on beneath the surface. So you tend to say, because of this, we're going to do that. or I'd like everyone to support this change because it's going to create this outcome for us and keep us surviving into the future. So you're using that tagline over and over and over again, and you repeat it just like a marketing ploy until people start saying it back to you. And once you've got to that stage, they've embedded it. The change has become real for them.
So as we move forward, perhaps what advice would you give to a manager who's embarking on a change program? What are the first steps that they can take to really effectively, or to maximise the chances that the change program they're going to introduce will be accepted and in fact implemented?
So I'd suggest having a look at my chapter on safe conversations in difficult people made easy. It really is about how to have that facilitated conversation where you engage and involve people. And secondly, plan. Plan how you're going to deliver that message, and plan how you're going to respond to objections, and plan what call to action you want to have right at the end of your presentation, so that you're really clearly leading people towards success.
And if you run up against a blockage where you suddenly get a pocket of resistance starting to re-emerge, what would you suggest you do then?
Have a look at how large that pocket is, because sometimes actually you're better off putting your attention to the people who are actively supporting. But if you've got a large group, you need to sit down with that and investigate what's going on, because it's quite likely that there's some legitimate situation that you need to be aware of and factor into your change plans.
Great. Well, I think you provided some fabulous suggestions, and they're very process orientated. So you're providing processes that help move and shift people's views and feelings towards the future. So just as a reminder, the next session we're going to run is the 4 habits of strategic thinking. So I'm looking forward to working with you on that one and exploring issues around what really is strategic thinking.
Great. See you then.